Tiny Evil from Brim right there. I'm always gonna say it. Tiny Evil from Brim was right there.
We gonna keep it 55th Street over hood. Beat up Nutty Boy and Tiny Evil on.
I know that my homeboy ain't all the way there, so but I sat here and let you over-exaggerate. You over-exaggerated them squabbles. You got put down by everybody that you squabbled.
Tiny Evil from Brim was right there, straight Zark in the park. On L's, he's a mark. Tiny Evil right there, bomb squab, and ain't like I'm getting done dirty. It's 5-on-1.
I think I figured it out. All you young doing all this popping on this internet, cause y'all ain't been in no wars. Y'all be doing all this dissing, but y'all don't know what the words do. There ain't nobody came and showed y'all the consequences behind that. You niggas stop popping it. It's finna get real out there.
In today's video, we're gonna be talking about Tiny Evil from the 6 Deuce Brims. We're gonna cover everything from how he would be charged with murder and to how he would be charged with a 93 count indictment. But let's dive right into it. For those of you that don't know, Tiny Evil would be a rapper out the 6 Deuce Brims, and his rap name would be Tiny E. But let's dive right into his cases. We're gonna start off with his first arrest, which would be at the age of 17. And he would be arrested on November 4th of 2016. And he would be charged for 1 count of carrying a loaded firearm in public and 1 count of having an extended magazine on it. He would then sit in the county jail for about 3 weeks, but on November 22nd of 2016, he would take a plea deal, but he would have the second count dismissed. And they would give him 3 years of probation for his first case. He would then stay out of trouble for almost a year, but on October 28th of 2017, he would be arrested again, but this time it was for receiving stolen property. But even though it sounds petty, it wouldn't be. He would be arrested 2 blocks away from where they found a safe that was reported stolen. And close by, they would find 2 crowbars. And they would also recover $35,000 in cash flying around the street. But in Tiny Evil's possession, he would have $8,000, 5 rings, a Rolex watch, and a couple other jewelry pieces. He would then sit in the county jail for about a month, but on November 22nd of 2017, he would bail out for $20,000. But just try to remember about this receiving stolen property, because it's going to make sense towards the end when we speak about the indictment. But on January 25th of 2018, he would take a plea deal. And on that same exact day of January 25th of 2018, he would receive 16 months in the county jail. And 11 months into that county jail sentence, on November 7th of 2018, they would file a whole new case against him. And it would be him and 13 other people. And as you can see in the box to the top, he would be the 10th defendant in this case. In this case would be 33 counts of burglaries, robberies, possession of a firearm, and 1 count of conspiracy. But like we said, this case right here had 13 people on it. But as you can see to the right, on March 5th of 2019, they would have all these counts dismissed. And the only reason why they dismissed it is because a few weeks before, on February 27th of 2019, they would end up indicting him and 3 others. As you can see in the case type, now it says indictment. But don't forget, before, he was the 10th defendant. Now he's the 1st defendant on this case. And like we said, it started off as 13 people, and now it's only 4. And on this indictment, he would be hit with 93 different counts of different crimes. They would be hit with 1 count of street gang conspiracy, 11 counts of robbery, 59 counts of burglary, and a bunch of attempted robberies, attempted burglaries, 1 count of mayhem, 1 count of torture, and a bunch of other miscellaneous charges because the victims were older. And like we said before they dropped the other case, it was 33 counts and 13 people. On this case, it's 4 people and 93 counts. And remember, before, he was the 10th defendant. On this indictment, he would be the 1st defendant. Him and his co-defendants would then have to sit in the county jail and fight this case. But now, we're going to dive into the details of this indictment. They would have evidence that the burglaries happened between October of 2017 to October of 2018, a month before they were arrested. And every single one happened out of San Gabriel Valley. And 4 of them burglaries would be home invasions because somebody would be home. And out of them 4 where people were home, 2 were brutally attacked. And they would say that the usual plan would go like this. Tiny Evil and the 6 Deuce Brims would meet in Long Beach at somebody's house named DeAndre Johnson, who was also a member of the 6 Deuce Brims. And they usually met there late in the afternoon or early at night. They would then wait for the sun to go down, and then they would drive 15 to 20 miles and then they would pick a city in San Gabriel Valley. They usually never knocked on the door, but would go to the backyard and either break a window or the glass door. They would then go in and ransack the house, and they usually left within 10 minutes. And like they said, it happened between October 2017 to October 2018. Because in October of 2018, detectives would get a tip saying that the Six Deuce Brims were behind all the burglaries that were happening in the San Gabriel Valley. Detectives would then start to analyze the Six Deuce Brims social media and their phone calls. And they would have proof that every time the Six Deuce Brims left Los Angeles and traveled to the San Gabriel Valley, they would have proof that the gang members were on the open line between each other, and it always corresponded with the crime that was happening close. And what that means is every time they were in the San Gabriel Valley, they would be on the phone talking to one another. And while they were on the phone with each other, a burglary would be taking place nearby. So they're pretty much alluding that while the driver was outside, he was on the phone with the people inside the house. And they can prove it because it pinged off the cell phone towers close by to the burglary that was reported. So this right here would be an example. So on December 27th of 2017, call records show that Tiny Evil's phone called somebody named Devin Gardner. And they would have an open line from 5:11 to 5:27. And like we said, open line means that they're on the phone with each other. And both phones would ping off the same cell phone tower, which was 0.2 miles away. And they would say that they were inside the house from 5:09 to 5:36. And the same exact thing would happen on October 27th of 2017. This would be the day that he got charged with receiving stolen property, like we were talking about earlier. But at the time of the arrest, they had no evidence about the burglary. But after a year of collecting evidence and doing their homework, detectives would find out that that same exact day, they would learn that Tiny Evil and a couple of Brims were actually at that house due to cell phone records. Detectives would also get surveillance footage from DeAndre Johnson's house in Long Beach and the burglaries. And in both videos, they would compare what they were wearing, and they would say that Tiny Evil had on distinctive sneakers. So at this time, he was serving a 16-month sentence in the county jail for receiving stolen property, and he would be hit with a 93-count indictment. And 10 months into that, they would hit him with a whole nother case. And they would file this case on October 18th of 2019, and he would be charged with 1 count of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of shooting into a vehicle, and 1 count of possession of a firearm. But as you see to the right, the offense date would be November 4th of 2017, which would be 2 years before they even filed this case. And on that day of November 4th of 2017, a woman named Diomi De La Cruz, who was 28 years old, would be shot and killed. This would happen in Santa Monica, and her and 3 other people who were on her party bus would be shot. And it's alleged that her party bus and the Brims party bus would get into an argument. That's when a shootout between the 2 party buses would happen, and unfortunately, she would be shot in the crossfire. This would be Diomi De La Cruz, and may she rest in peace. But like we said, 2 years after the shooting, they would arrest Tiny Evil and somebody else. And as you can see, they would both already be behind bars for unrelated cases. So now at this time, he was 10 months into a 16-month sentence in the county jail. And he was fighting a 93-count indictment. And on top of that, now he would be fighting a murder case. But just 6 days after being charged with the murder, he would go to trial for the 93-count indictment. On October 24th of 2019, he would be convicted by a jury on some counts. But he would have most dismissed and some acquitted. And out of the 93 counts, the jury would find him guilty of 16. 1 count of participating in street gang conspiracy, 10 counts of first-degree burglary, 2 counts of first-degree robbery, 2 counts of attempted first-degree robbery, and 1 count of torture and mayhem. And they would sentence Tiny Evil to 46 years to life. Because as you can see, it would be 46 years and 4 months determinate. But the indeterminate would be 15 years to life. In the 15 years, he would be able to run concurrent. But the indeterminate life sentence just means that there's no set number, as you can see right here. But it wouldn't stop there, because on February 20th of 2020, he would catch another case. And this time he would be caught with a weapon in jail. So now at this time of 2020, he would be serving a 46-year to life sentence, and he would be fighting a murder case. And on top of that, now he would be fighting getting caught with a weapon in jail. But on August 3rd of 2021, he would take a plea deal on the murder case, and he would have everything reduced to assault with a semi-automatic on a person. And on that same day, they would give him 12 years in state prison, 9 years for the actual crime, and then 3 years for enhancements. And on September 21st of 2021, which would be a month later, he took a plea deal for getting caught with a weapon in jail. And for this case, they would give him 1 year in state prison. But as you can see to the bottom, he would have 433 days of total credit. So in total, they would give him 46 years to life for the 93 count indictment. And then for the assault with the firearm, they would give him 12 years for a total of 58 years to life. And he was 22 years old at that time. And he's eligible for parole in July of 2032. But that right there would be the story of Tiny Evil from 6 Deuce Brims. And I appreciate y'all for tuning in. But that right there is going to wrap up this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. It's Respectable Rants.